Hey y'all, it's Terry from Sisterhood of the Traveling Brush, and I wanted to show you my Dollar Tree haul today and talk a little bit about the supplies that I get there. You know, I really believe in using the best paints I can get, quality brushes, Paint Pixie brushes, Dixie Belle brushes, and really quality supplies when I can, but that doesn't mean you have to get the top of the line of everything that you use whenever you're painting. So I'm going to show you the top things for my painting business that I get at the Dollar Tree. This wasn't in my haul today, but I did want to show you this, and I think I've already used one or two out of it. These are sponge brushes, and they come in a pack of several, I think 5 or 6 or something like that, for $1 at the Dollar Tree. And I use these for putting on things like stains and glopping extra colors, you know, just into the creases and stuff like that whenever I just don't feel like washing my brush and I don't need a good brush for it. So that's a good place to get. I mean, they have some of this stuff at like Dollar General and stuff like that too, but then you're going to be paying $2 for it instead of $1 for it. So here we go. You can never have enough tarps. These are great. I like to have these $1, these cheap ones, because if I don't have my big drop cloth and things like that with me, I can always have one of the small things sitting wherever, and I can paint wherever. I can bring this with me, you know, into the sunroom, the office, the bathroom, wherever I have a piece of furniture. Tuck this in my, you know, bucket of supplies or my bag of supplies. I tote around a thing like this a lot. This has my waxes in it. I can chunk one of these in the top of there, and boom, I've got something that'll work. And it was $1, of course, and this is 4 foot by 6 foot. And it's gonna protect your floor. And this is a pack of sandpaper. There's several different grits in here. These are 4.5 by 5.5. There's 24 pieces in here. And this is called waterproof abrasive paper. It's just sandpaper. And I take these, and you can either, this is a good size for my hand to use anyways if I'm going to distress around the corner or something, just wanting to get, you know, if something has a bad spot or something spilled on it, it's perfect for that. But I also cut these in half a lot, just to have a little piece about this size to just use with my finger. Say if some wax was spilled on a candlestick, or some glue was spilled on a, you know, a project that I'd glued something on. This is the perfect size of sandpaper to get that off, and 24 pieces for $1. So you really can't beat that. And you know, I love sanding blocks and all that, and I keep tons of them. But this is something you can keep a couple in your little tote bag that you keep with you and not have to carry everything that you own. This is a putty knife, or what I use for a putty knife. What do they call it? They call it a paint scraper, which I guess that makes sense. If you've ever got an old piece that's been painted with latex or something like that and it's starting to peel off, this is great for scraping that paint off. But it's also good for applying mud and things like that over stencils or Bondo. If you're trying to repair the veneer on the top of something, this is also really good for popping into, you know, under the veneer, whether you're going to try to reach in there with some glue and then press it back down, or whether you're going to try to scrape it off. This is good for that. And it's pretty, you know, weighted handle. It's a good size one. So $1 for that. Love these. It's the car wash sponge. And they have the tiny, tiny little holes. You know, they don't have the big holes. But I cut these in 2 to 3 pieces depending on the size, and they're perfect for cleaning things up, for one, but they're also perfect for applying oh my gosh, my mind is going blank, things that give you texture, for applying stains. And then you don't mind throwing something away that if you cut 3 out of this, that's 33 cents, and then you don't have to worry about washing it up afterward. So I love those big. They're a great size to hold with your hand and good to work with. I love this size of little containers. They have all kinds of sizes of them. This is, they call them craft bead storage containers. Don't tell my husband I used my teeth, y'all. anyways, these are really good, and I use them a lot for like mixing paint colors. If I'm gonna mix some of this in the navy with some buttercream to come out with a lighter blue that's gonna look really good with that, I'm gonna use a craft stick. They have these there too. I didn't buy any today because I buy them in these great big boxes, but these are what I use for stir sticks. But this is where you could go ahead and mix enough of your other color, and then it's got an airtight lid to sit on it, and you can come in tomorrow and touch up a little bit more. So I love these for mixing paint and then having, you know, something to save it where there's some left over to use. And this is the largest of the size of these little things that they have. Condiment containers. These are good for 2 or 3 things. I use, and I don't see one in here, but I use FIFO bottles a lot. They're the first in, first out bottles that you get from restaurant supplies. Like if you've ever been to Subway, you see they pick up this container and they squirt out your mayonnaise or whatever and put it back in. That's called a FIFO bottle, and it gets rid of your oldest stuff first and you pour the new in the top. But you could use something like this just as well, but what I generally use these for is I'll put a couple of tablespoons of paint in here and a couple of tablespoons of water, vinegar, or something like that, water and vinegar, mostly just water. Shake it up real good, and then you have like a thin wash, and if you have details and things like that that you're working in, you could just squeeze a little out right here and it lets it run down it. And you control where, you know, the runs and things like that are on your piece whenever you're trying for a, you know, a more boho looking finish or something like that. So I love the condiment containers. And then there's paint brushes. And you know, all the time I have some high quality brushes and I have a bunch of cheap brushes and that I use for canvases. But whenever it comes to me using them on furniture pieces, I always go with the cheap ones. And sometimes, a lot of times, I buy like the 25-piece set or whatever from Michael's or from Amazon or whatever. I think there's some in my Amazon store, but these are great just to have in your toolkit to tote with you for furniture. If you were, these are the small, medium, and large flat bristle brushes, and these are the like the rounded top bristle brushes. And there's, oh, that one doesn't have any bristles on it. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in this and 5 in this, so 20 cents a piece. But I use these for if I'm wanting to do like a small, like a pinstripe around something, or if I'm wanting to add glaze or dark wax or something like that into the details of a piece or around a cabinet door or something like that. I use these because wax is going to ruin your good brush. You definitely don't want to do that. You want to use it on something that you don't mind throwing away. So I have these for that, and I can rinse these and reuse them if I'm just, you know, detailing with a little bit of paint. But if I put wax in them or something like that, another time to, you know, make them disposable. But they also have stencil brushes, and they have several sizes. I like this one, the short-handled one, and I have the really nice ones from Paint Pixie that I love, the 5C and 25C and all that. But this is for, I do the same thing, like if I want to get some wax or something like that, you can go in your stencils, but you can also use it to sort of smear and spread your paint whenever you're blending over some details and things like that. It's perfect bristles for that. And then if something happens to it, you know, you didn't just spend $20 on that brush. And I try to keep a couple of these around. This is a foam roller and a little roller pan, whatever you call it. I'll show you. It comes with a synthetic bristle brush, a foam roller, pair of gloves, and your little rolling pan for $1, all of this. But when you have these foam ones like this, I have a nicer set that I use for like the big Prima transfers when I just did the bathroom floor, and I was using the, not transfers, but stencils on the floor. It's way easy to roll over those things instead of dab on it whenever you're doing a big one. But I also like to use the foam roller, sometimes if I'm doing the front of like a cabinet door or the top of a piece of furniture and I'm not wanting too many brush strokes and things like that to show, these foam rollers are really nice for that too. And here it is with its own little pan. And I wanted to mention that this comes with it, and this is, I can't tell if that's slightly angled, but anyway, it's a synthetic bristle brush. This one, it's a 1.5 inch. And the same thing, if I was mixing up some like sea salt spray and wanting to do some texture and pounce, or get a whole bunch of wax smeared into a corner, or put on some patina or something like that, and I didn't want a chance messing up my good brush, ta-da! You know, of course I buy, what are they called? Chip brushes by the case, and I get those at Harbor Freight, and they're, you know, just cents a piece or whatever. But sometimes the synthetic bristles are a little bit better, and they don't lose as many bristles as the chip brushes do, and sometimes the synthetic is better. And they sell these, they didn't have any up there today, but I had one that came in here, but they sell these, and it's like a 3 or a 4 pack for $1. And those are perfect for, you know, sometimes if I'm going to work on a project outside or something like that, I'm not wanting to bring all my good tools out there either. These, you've probably seen on some of my videos before. These are those kitchen scrubby things. But I use them for, they're lightly, only slightly abrasive. And I don't know how many, this is 10 of them. And I sometimes cut these in half too, but a lot of times they're a good size for my hand, and I leave them whole like they are. But this is good for like lightly sanding between your layers. Say if you put on a layer of paint, you want to scuff that up just a tad, or knock down a little bit of the brush strokes or something like that. These don't mar up your finish. They almost buff it at the same time as they semi-sand it. It's really, really, really good between your layers of top coat, like finish painting. Do this a little, put a coat of gator hide or something like that on your top surface. Then you know, scuff it with this in between your layers of gator hide. That way you can pile those up, and the slick top coat that you're putting on gets a little bit of grip for, you know, the next coat to adhere. But it's also gentle enough that you can buff in the very end. Like a lot of times I'll let my wax dry really good, like for a week or whatever, and then I come back and try to get a really good sheen with that, and these are perfect for that. 10 cents a piece, so $1 for 10. And all the time, if you've watched my channel much, I do a lot of palette knife painting. I don't use the palette knives as much on pieces of furniture as I do on canvas, but they're tools I like to have. And same thing for in my kit. If I'm not wanting to carry, you know, in my little toolbox, if I'm not wanting to carry all my good palette knives with me, I can throw these in there and just have them. I love this one for, same thing, sort of like I used the putty knife for earlier, for smearing out on top of stencils like mud and things like that, to give a little bit of texture. Same thing with the sea salt. If you're wanting salt spray, you're wanting to knock down some of the texture that you just put on, or lift up the texture a little more in some areas. These are perfect for that. And sometimes you want to, if you're painting a picture on the front of a piece, you're going to want some of those rough lines and things around the edges, and you just can't beat your palette knives for that. And that's a set of 3 for $1. Perfect for your little toolbox. And of course, tape measures, $1. I'm probably going to tear it up, but if I spent $20 on it, I was probably going to tear it up or lose it or whatever. But I don't know how many times a day, just about, somebody messages me on something for Marketplace and I forgot to put on the dimensions. And they're like, you know, what size is that? Well, I have these laying everywhere. I have one on my desk. I have one in my toolkit there. I usually have one in my car, one in my purse. And also, if I'm going to garage sales or estate sales or flea markets, I have this with me, and I can see, is that the size of piece that's going to fit where I want it? Is it going to fit in the back of my car? These are 16 foot, I think. Yep, 16 foot, $1. You can buy yourself a handful of these. You can order this stuff on their website. You don't have to even go to the store if you don't want. This is a mallet. I actually needed this today for my swimming pool pump. But what I use it for in my paint toolkit is sometimes you'll get a piece of hardware that even after you have taken all the screws out, it doesn't want to come out. Well, you can use one of your tools like this and then sort of tap that down and you can pry that off. If you have pieces of the leg and things that are loose, you can knock things back into position, and it's just gentle. It's not going to, and if your paint jar's lid is stuck, it's soft, it's rubber, and it's not gonna, you know, gouge and put ugly marks in your piece. But it, you know, it's pretty heavy. I don't know if it says on here, but I imagine that's, you know, close to a pound or something like that. But I usually keep one of those in my toolkit. Nowadays, sanitizer. And let's see what else we have that I picked up this morning. This isn't necessarily for your furniture kit, but if you're going to stage your pieces or hang them up in your home, I'm always looking for the little picture hanging kits. I buy them at Lowe's and Walmart and Dollar General. I don't buy them anyplace else for $1, I'll tell you that much. So $1 for a picture hanging kit. And let me show you these other couple of things. This is a scraper. And this is really good for, say, if you're painting a vanity or something that has a mirror on it and you get a little bit of paint, you know, go out of the lines a little bit, get a little paint on there, even if you taped it off. These are perfect for scraping that off. Or I got this because I'm fixing to paint my back door, and it has glass inserts, and I know my friend Mary, who's a house painter, taught me years ago, don't spend all your time taping that crap off, you scrape it after. So thanks, Mary, for that, teaching me that. And there's 4 with fresh razor blades on it for $1. And let's see if I can even get this open. This is spackle. You know, I like to use, like, the Dixie mud is what I generally use for stencils and things like that. And when I have big projects like a wall, I use the big drywall compound. But this is a very soft one, but this is a lightweight spackling, paintable in minutes, won't shrink or crack, no sanding required, spreads easily, water cleanup. So if you were gonna have something in your toolbox, why not have something this size, and you just spread it with this same knife. So you could put that over to, if you have a little rip in your veneer or whatever, and I know that's too bright to see it, but it's there. If you have a little, you know, mist spot in your veneer or something like that, or a lot of times, like back behind where the hardware used to be, there'll be uneven surfaces, and of course I would sand that off some. But you could also fill in your screw holes. If you say it had a double hole knobs before and you're wanting to replace it with a single knob, this is great for replacing that, and you're not having to buy a whole lot at a time. And it's $1. So that's the main things that I get at the Dollar Tree. Of course, they have scrapbooking supplies, craft supplies, every, you know, kind of thing that you could think of like that. But these are the ones that I use in my painting business. So I hope you enjoyed that. I would love to know what's your favorite items that you use in your business. And thanks for watching.